Hi friends, guess what? It's spring! This is my favorite season. I'm going to show you right now probably the easiest way to have a spring cocktail. We're going to make a spring old-fashioned. We're going to use fairy dust, which is our fennel, anise, and wormwood syrup, full of herbaceous flavors and fresh fennel. And we're going to use it with some whiskey today. I'm using, this is from Spirit Works in Petaluma. This is their wheat whiskey. I adore this whiskey. But you could do this recipe with basically any aged spirit you'd like. If you have some aged rum hanging out and you want to make cocktails with it, it's going to be great. Some rye, some bourbon, any other kind of whiskeys, Scotch, Irish, whatever you have, it's going to be great. And I'm going to show you, it's so easy to make this cocktail because we're going to do it in the glass that we're going to drink it from. So we're going to start off with 2 ounces because to me an old-fashioned should be booze forward. So we're going to do 2 whole ounces. I have my jigger. This is my OXO quarter cup measure, which I love because it measures everything down to the quarter ounce. And I always measure my cocktails. This one, we're going to start with 2 ounces. So we're going to do 2 ounces of whiskey. Is this going to be the end of the bottle? Oh, so close. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to kill the bottle right now. Oh, yeah. So that's actually 2.5 ounces, and that's perfectly all right. Right into the glass. I've got a big ice cube in there, but you can just put it with any other ice cubes you want on that one. And then I have fairy dust, fennel, anise, wormwood. I have an open bottle down here. This is... we're going to do 1/2 ounce, just a little bit. And then we're going to put that 1/2 ounce right on top. And on top of that, I'm going to add some bitters. You could go any different way that you want. I love orange bitters in my old fashions, so I happen to have a very pretty decanter with some orange bitters in it. And we're just going to do 4 dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to stir it wicked cold. Old fashions should be served really cold. And the way you do that is by stirring it for a while. Here's the wonderful thing about an old fashioned. You know, so many people think an old fashioned has a cherry and muddled fruit and an orange peel and needs to be made a very specific way, and there's only one thing. Not true. The old fashioned dates back to the 1860s, and old fashioned was simply a beverage that called for spirit, sugar, bitters, and water. And what your spirit was, and what your sugar was, and what your bitter was, and what your water was, in this case we're using ice, that was up to you and your bartender. So you could walk in and ask for a whiskey cocktail, or you could ask for a gin cocktail, and they would make you that drink with those ingredients. And over time that changed. Over time they went and they started getting fancy with that version of it, and they started coming up with other drinks like Manhattans and martinis, all of which still follow that same basic rule of spirit, sugar, bitters, and water. And then at some point, legend has it, somebody said, enough of these crazy versions, I want an old-fashioned cocktail. So that's where the old-fashioned came from. And then time went on and they started making it fancy again with the muddled fruit and all kinds of different things. And now here we are back again to the original pure old-fashioned. No garnish on this one. Doesn't need it. You could if you want to. There's no reason not to. But for this, I wanted to make a simple whiskey old-fashioned for spring with fairy dust. It's like the garden blooming. I could just hang out with this for hours. Sit, read, hang out, talk to my friends, have a good time, just enjoy myself with a spring old-fashioned with fairy dust. I hope you have a nice night. See ya.